We go now to Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. He joins us from Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. Good afternoon, sir.
Доброго ранку.
Good morning.
Mr. President, Russian forces appear to be withdrawing from the north of Ukraine. Do you think this means Putin's calculus is changing?
Thank you for this question. You know, Margaret, they have pulled out from some localities. In others, they are doing the redeployment because the situation is difficult. There were some communities that they were trying to take several times, and this is a tragedy because our army had to take back as well. So the city of Chernobylka, 9 times they attempted to take it over. But we think this is the redeployment, in our opinion. They're changing the tactics now. They were trying to take Kyiv and some cities in Kyiv region. Some of them have been occupied and then destroyed everything. The civilians, the houses, they were stealing washing machines and equipment. So they were tortures as well. I think the clips that we shared with you, you have seen for yourself. It's important for the free people of the United States to have a look at it and understand and see for themselves. Before the war, when there was a lot of free time, we were watching different films and also war movies, but we couldn't have imagined anything like this, because this is a maniac type of decision to destroy the whole nation. Well, in terms of the tactics and them pulling out and what the strategy of Putin is, they are now focusing in the east of Ukraine. So this corridor, which is going from the Crimea to the east of Ukraine, this is in the south of Ukraine, and this is where they are trying to focus in terms of armament, in terms of deploying the personnel, the Chechen troops, occupying the cities. They were bringing people from different parts of the world because they were in deficit of the personnel, and now they are grouping all of these troops in the south and east of our country.
The images you're talking about have been described by leaders around the world as horrific. The mayor of Kyiv used the term genocide. Your vice prime minister is asking if this is fascism or genocide in terms of what has been left around Kyiv. Do you feel that the world will actually make good on this promise to hold Vladimir Putin to account for war crimes?
Everything has to be fair and according to justice, as the civilized world will decide. We believe in justice, in the justice of the Western world, and therefore the question is not only about the leader of Russian Federation. We wouldn't think that it would be fair to take only him. I think all the military commanders, everyone who gave instructions and orders, should be punished adequately. The adequate punishment to these people is difficult to be achieved. It has to be done according to the law, and what they have done, and I want to apologize to you and to those people who are watching us now, but for some things that they have done, when we find people with hands tied behind their back and decapitated, such things I don't understand, I don't comprehend. The kids who were killed and tortured, so it wasn't enough just to kill for those criminals. Maybe they wanted to take gold or washing machines, and they were killing them, but they were also torturing them as they did this. And your question is absolutely fair, but I don't have the answer. I don't know what law or what imprisonment term would be adequate for this. As the father of two children and as a president, I think that these people, if they are put behind the bars, this is one too little for what they have done.
Is this genocide?
Indeed, this is genocide. The elimination of the whole nation and the people. We are the citizens of Ukraine. We have more than 100 nationalities. This is about the destruction and extermination of all these nationalities. We are the citizens of Ukraine, and we don't want to be subdued to the policy of Russian Federation. And this is the reason we are being destroyed and exterminated. And this is happening in the Europe of the 21st century. So this is the torture of the whole nation.
In the Donbas southeast area of your country, the city of Mariupol, are you having any success getting civilians out?
Many people, many dozens of people have been evacuated. In certain cities, 35, 30, 40,000 have been evacuated, so altogether hundreds of thousands. But nevertheless, there are still hundreds of thousands remain blocked. Some of them are blocked or behind the bars. To answer your question about Mariupol, before the beginning of this full-fledged war and the occupation of Mariupol, there have been lots of people, and all the corridors have been blocked, including humanitarian corridors. The supply of food and water. So in this city now there is 150,000, lots of dead bodies in the street, lots of wounded people among military and civilians. The evacuation happens only when the Russian side agrees to Ukrainian proposal to open a corridor. So the corridor for the food or water simply do not exist in those cities that are occupied by Russia.
Mr. President, your team shared with us a video, images that your government has gathered of what has been left behind outside of Kyiv that I do want to share with our viewers. And I want to ask you about it. Looking and listening to what Vladimir Putin has said, he's called Ukraine not a real country. He said it's controlled by little Nazis. He's called you a drug-addled thug. Is he someone you can negotiate with?
As a president of Ukraine, there cannot be just my personal view about President Putin and a dialogue with the Russian Federation. I have to stand for the interests of my country, so it's difficult to say how, after all what has been done, we can have any kind of negotiations with Russia. That's on the personal level. But as a president, I have to do it. Any war has to end, just end. I'm not talking about ending this with peace, because peace in this situation when there are thousands of people killed is something that I'm not fine with. But there is no any other way. That's I'm saying as a president. There's no any other way but the dialogue. If we don't want hundreds of thousands, millions to die. But it's important to have the agreement between the two sides and understanding, or at least the desire to understand that we need to have a dialogue, because we're going to stand until the end, and they have to understand this. So I keep talking about this dialogue, something that I have been repeating throughout my term as a president.
In terms of security guarantees, the United States has given security assurances to Ukraine in the past, and that did not stop this invasion. When you recently spoke with President Biden, did he make you any kind of concrete promise that the U.S. and NATO wouldn't let this happen to Ukraine again?
So we don't believe in papers any longer. So we are very grateful for the support of the United States, indeed, and it's a very powerful support. But in terms of security guarantees, we have not received them yet from anyone, and we have to get them. For us, it is important also what the circle of countries who will be providing the security guarantees is going to be, and how specifically this will be enforced. So I'm not, as a president, satisfied with just assurance, because then I don't know what the agreement is going to be about and whether we will have any agreement with Russia. What are we going to agree about? Who are going to be the guarantors? Because if tomorrow the war starts again and only sanctions will be introduced, well, that's about nothing, because sanctions are important. If they cannot stop the aggression, then we don't need such guarantees.
Russia seems very interested in this resource-rich part of eastern Ukraine. I wonder, will you settle for anything less than a full withdrawal of Russian troops from every inch of Ukrainian soil?
This is the bare minimum that we have to start the deoccupation with. It should be 100% withdrawal of troops to their borders that existed prior to the 24th of February, at least. This would make us to start discussing other questions about the deoccupation, about how do we live on after this, how we have our dialogue with them. So I can't even have a meeting when the shelling is going on. So first the ceasefire, then we can have a meeting with the Russian president if they have an approach that he's making these authoritarian decisions. Why do we need this bloodshed drama performance for? Let's simply sit down together, the two of us.
You can watch the full interview on our website, facethenation.com. We'll be back in 1 minute. Stay with us.